Alright, this is Cherish. She is the filmmaker and the one that came up with the narrative. This is Connor, he is Pig Mask. Niall is Horse Mask, and this is Iana, she's the Swan Girl. That's what I call her, Swan Girl. Lucius, he's Gas Mask. Okay, so what is the narrative of this video, guys?
We'll come back to him, Joe.
Okay, so the whole idea of it, the song has no lyrics in it, so we thought we wanted to come up with a kind of interesting narrative that was really sort of related to the genre. So we came up with this whole idea of sort of hallucinations, and that's why we wanted to use the masks, because it sort of covers up your identity, but each mask has an element, you have snakes, known as being sort of slimy and everything, you know, pigs, sloth, gluttony, kind of all of that. All of the masks represented something different. And then we wanted to chase, because we wanted to sort of show this twisted love story between the two main characters, which worked out quite well. And then the other masks they don't particularly feature in the story, but they do relate to the rest of the theme of the music genre.
How did you tackle getting your message across without lyrics? Was that easy, or how did you go about it?
It was quite difficult. We agreed from the start that we didn't want any lyrics in the thing, but we thought instead we'd use a voiceover from a script, because a lot of films have them. Particularly the XX have a song called No Angels, which is with Bastille and another singer, and that features a script from Psycho. We're also doing an XX song, so we thought it would be a good idea to do that as well. And the lyrics, the script doesn't exactly relate to the story, but then it does. And they're from The Labyrinth, which is the two characters, Sarah and Jareth, which also have this sort of warped love story going on, but it's all in her head.
Anyone else? Any points on the narrative?
Yeah. Again, with the masks, the other sort of masks that weren't really sort of they weren't that much of a key feature, but they sort of say the horse mask, it represents sort of power, aggression, whereas and then you had the gas mask would represent sort of superiority, order, and we sort of and the fact that Yana had the interchanging sort of masks between white and black is you had the white, which represents innocence, security, whereas black, you know, is dark and evil, and it's sort of we try to link it in with how society deems, or how society corrupts people, and how easy it is to change from one state to another.
How were you able to link this to your target audience?
Connor, you can do this one. You did it quite well last time.
Well, it's again with the music. The house / dance genres are now in, and everything's around drugs now. And that sort of music, the house and the techno sort of scene, where everyone, it's hard to put into words, but okay.
But filmed in locations the audience are able to relate to.
But everything nowadays, everyone seems to think everything revolves around drugs, and obviously the drug scene is into with the music, and where
it's
that's our genre of music now. That's
but we didn't want to particularly that. That's why the one thing we didn't want was anything, because in a lot of videos now it's a lot about drinking and drugs, but we didn't actually want any of those elements to feature directly in the video. It's sort of just insinuated, you know, the whole theme. It's sort of what goes on in people's heads that you could imagine, but we also wanted to keep it quite safe with the genre and the age audience, because obviously it's not about promoting drug use, but it's like a fantasy idea. And that's what people that, you know, if you like having a good time, if you like partying, you like listening to music, you don't want a sort of storyline that's boring and a bit naff and poppy. We wanted something that would literally draw in the audience to make up their own mind about the actual music as well as the video, because it's really, the video is just to enhance the music.
What is the style of editing and camera shots?
Well, this was we weren't sure whether we wanted just straight sort of panning shots, sort of like a one-shot music video. So we focused quite a lot on the running scenes. They're quite long and extended, but then we've sort of broken them up and like done close-ups and everything. There's one particular, like during the running scene where Yana stops, and it's sort of the breathing and everything, and then we've got one of her turning, so there's a lot of breaks in it, but ultimately it sort of flows rather than being very like jittery.
It sort of like correlates with the music, whereas like the high tempo ones would have the running scenes, and then the sort of lower ones would have the sort of slow music,
and it's sort of a mix in between, because
yeah.
the actual music video for the song is just one long running scene, which is a guy running down a track. So we sort of thought, yeah, we'll stick to that because it'll keep the tempo and the beat, but we want to have
like a narrative,
because it's just someone running, and the narrative's obviously about power and everything, but it's not got much to it.
How does the narrative complement the music?
Yeah, it's like we said, the narrative sort of revolves around the music. If you didn't really have the music, then the narrative would sort of be a bit sloppy, to be honest. Like as it first starts out in the bathroom, you sort of have the beginning of the song where it's sort of low tempo. You've got this sort of little beats, which like we called heartbeats because sort of it builds up the tension, and then you have the sort of pace running, and then you've got like the cuts of the narrative in between.
Also, it's sort of we have really based this music because thinking about it, we were like, oh well, do we want to change the song, because we found the song quite hard to work with, but we'd already planned out the filming and everything, so we decided to keep the song, and it is quite difficult. It is quite difficult because we had nothing to work on, but then if you look at the video without the sort of idea of the music behind it, it wouldn't work, because it's got that tempo and you couldn't use anything with lyrics, otherwise the whole idea would just go to pot.
Overall, was this a success?
Well, I thought, because considering this is our second attempt at filming, we have obviously we've got a new lead role, so we had to step through it all again. But because we had that experience the first time, it didn't work well. The weather wasn't great this time, to be fair. It was raining, but the light was good.
Yeah, the light, we will sort of work with the lighting. We sort of like the fact that it was natural lighting. I think we sort of timed it together.
Yeah.
Like even though there were like sort of delays with cameras and other stuff, we sort of timed it well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we left all the sort of bathroom scenes till sort of last because they're kind of really easy and separate, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be the only difficulty is trying to keep the continuity, because obviously we filmed the last scenes first and the first scenes last, and we still have a small bit of filming to do, but that's not going to be a problem. But I don't know, this time it just worked. Like we had I was working on camera this time, last time I wasn't, so it worked a little bit better and it was different. And obviously Connor already knew what he had to do because he'd done it before.
Yeah.
And then with the rest of the cast, it was more
or less sort of like trying to direct everyone and sort of explain the scenes and make sure, like, I mean, all the behind the scenes sort of stuff is more technical side. It's sort of like you've got the sound editing, but the actual film editing, you've got like sort of like looking at the actual sort of props and stuff.
How were you able to get across what each character represents?
Well, that's the difficult thing, because with the rest of, obviously the three main characters, we have Gas Mask, who doesn't feature a hell of a lot, but it's sort of the subliminal, like the gas mask, the subliminal message behind it all, because he's wearing the gas mask to prevent the contamination of the outside world, and then you've got all these masked figures who won't accept their personality or their true identities. You're not sure who's who, if they're actually a pig mask or if they're not, you know, who they are. And it's like the gas mask, even though he is masked, it's sort of like he's rebelling against the whole society that the music video is set in, because he's trying to protect himself from the contamination and everything.
Online. And I think I'm going to have to enter the password.
And also the gas mask idea was, we wanted a child originally, because the idea was from Doctor Who, where there's a child in a gas mask and it's quite sinister, but instead we decided on something different, because we thought, considering the dynamic of it, it would be a bit too twisted to use a child, even though that was sort of what we were going for.
Okay, sweet. This is our question and answer video. You are beautiful. Good night.